Welcome to The Gaggle, where we talk politics inside of Arizona and beyond. I'm Yvonne Winchett Sanchez. I cover the governor's office and state politics. This week, why in the world do cosmetologists need 1,000 hours to blow dry hair? What's up with the $1 million in extra pay that Doug Ducey is giving his PR folks? And what's up with that post that Kelly Townsend, a representative in the number 3 in the House, put on her Facebook page about the Women's March? First, we go to you, Ryan. There's a bill that would regulate or deregulate blowout bars. Tell us about it.
Well, the governor mentioned this in his State of the State. He mentioned that the cosmetology board had been picking on people. He named the guy who was cutting homeless folks' hair down in Tucson and said that because he hadn't kissed the ring of the cosmetology board, they were cracking down on him. This almost feels like payback after that. He's going to further deregulate the industry. He mentioned blow-dry bars, which we have several of those in the state. But right now, if you work at those, you need a cosmetology license, and that can cost you about $12,000 in schooling. Ducey's saying, well, people blow dry their hair at home. Why do you need a license to blow dry somebody's hair? He mentioned Ugenti Rita, representative from Scottsdale. She's introduced a bill that would actually allow these blow-dry bars to hire people that don't have cosmetology license in the state. Ugenti Rita said that this was spurred by a California company called Drybar. They launched about 10 years ago. They're nationwide now. They have more than 70 locations. They only have 3 in Arizona. And there seems to be quite a bit of blowback from the other 100,000 or so cosmetologists in the state.
That's an awful lot of cosmetologists. Clear enough to swing an election potentially. But what is the reaction from them?
Well, they say that none of them asked for this. Some of them actually provide dry bar services where you come in, you pay 40 bucks, you get a shampoo, you get a scalp massage, you get a blowout, maybe even curling in your hair, but no cutting, no chemicals, no other treatments in there. But they hire cosmetologists. They say that's important because those people know how to prevent the spread of lice or MRSA or hepatitis C, and to prevent you from passing that on to your next 20 or so customers. That's the thing that they learn in cosmetology school that they say is so important. They're afraid that this other company is going to come in, hire uncertified people, and undercut them on price and potentially put the public at risk.
So cosmetologists are pitching this as a public safety issue. Ducey's office is, and Republicans, some Republicans might be pitching this as a silly overregulation of an industry.
Yeah, and frankly, the cosmetologists are offended at the way Ducey portrayed their industry. I mean, they see value in the training and schooling that they've got, and they were offended that he sort of discounted that. And I'm still waiting for Ducey to get a haircut from the guy who used his shears on a bunch of homeless people down in Tucson. I think if he really believes that we don't need regulation, that would be a great photo op. So I'm waiting for that to be scheduled.
Would love to get video of that. Well, speaking of PR, their team might be dealing with that down the road. Craig, you had a story that revealed under the governor, $1 million more is being spent on his PR team statewide. What did your reporting show?
Well, we found that the number of public information officers or senior level folks who get the message out for the governor or state agencies has grown by about $1 million since the last year of Governor Brewer's administration. And the number has gone up by about 11 or so, and the cost has gone up to taxpayers by about $1 million. Now, that is a small fraction of the overall $10 billion budget that the governor has proposed. However, it shows a sense of where the priorities is. The governor has promised to cut state government, and he has. He has shrunk state government. He's laid off about 4,000 people. He's reduced the number of people. But when it comes to getting his message out and his agency's message out, he has increased the pay of those folks, and he has increased the number of people doing those jobs.
I'd love to see your inbox after that story. Justin, Representative Townsend made waves on social media, now in the press, with a post that referenced a topless woman at the march on Sunday. What did she write, and why is it so controversial?
Yeah, so Kelly Townsend, the number 3 Republican in the House, the House Majority Whip, she had a pretty inflammatory post where she basically said that a woman who was at this march on Sunday was sort of, I guess, inviting someone to harass her or assault her by exposing her breasts, which were covered with pasties, and fondling them. And the way she said that the way the woman was acting was sort of inviting that kind of behavior. And there was huge blowback to that on social media. A lot of people saying that it was kind of victim blaming, and just kind of they were kind of appalled at the suggestion that women who behave in a certain way are inviting assault on themselves. Yeah.
Did she walk that back?
You know, she did kind of walk it back. She said that she wasn't necessarily saying that women invite assault, but she was saying that if they portray themselves in a certain way, that they increase the odds of that and that they should be aware of that.
Interesting. Ryan, what are you watching for next week?
Next week, I am watching on the potential rehearing for an APS rate hike. They increased rates on folks back in August, and there's just been a lot of complaints from the million-plus customers of that utility, and one citizen petition has led to a formal hearing there at the Corporation Commission, which sets their rates. So I'm going to be following that and see if there's any developments.
I'll be following that and my bill. Yours?
Well, I'm going to be looking at the Department of Revenue and finding out why corporate income taxes have dropped so precipitously and whether that has anything to do with the amount of auditors that they've laid off a year or so ago.
Dustin?
I'm still following a sexual harassment investigation in the House, and it seems at long last we might finally get that investigation report.
We'll be watching all of your coverage. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.